Hi everybody, I'm Raven the Swift, and today we're going to do a tournament review of the FC Coliseum tournament at the Rising Winds June event. We're going to watch the open bracket category, which is pretty cool. We're not going to talk about any of the shots being called or anything like that. It's not really what we're interested in. We're really looking to observe and review the fighters' performances and kind of the things that go into that. If you don't know who I am, obviously I said I'm Raven the Swift before. I've won a bunch of foam fighting tournaments all across the United States in different regions and kingdoms and stuff like that. And I'm pretty good at sword fighting. So anyway, here we go. We're going to start watching it.
Typically, I don't know. I'm sure there is.
Honors has the next matchup. I grabbed one of them.
Okay, so immediately we're going to see that Fudd here has a Madu in his left hand, and the Madu is actually, it's a shield with two prongs on it. His shield is a little bit small, and the prongs are slightly small too, and it looks like he's using a longsword here. Longswords are totally fine. I'm kind of curious to see how he uses it, using some reach. His opponent doing a good job at being defensive. Hit him in the arm, not bad. I feel like he could have hit him in the shoulder if he really, really wanted to. It looks like Fudd's not really set up to use this Madu here offensively. I suspect that he's going to use it to parry his enemy's sword. Yeah, see, he's using his Madu to parry. That's pretty good, though. A lot of people use it that way. Oh, his opponent uses an outside wrap. I feel like his opponent could have feinted the outside wrap and thrown a slot shot to that shoulder, and he would have killed him, but not bad. His opponent needs to be careful there. He almost got hit in the shoulder. His opponent should probably use that down sword you see there. Shield and down sword is a really common combination that you see in open weapon because it allows people to block their legs and use it as a downward with the downward stabbing motion a lot of the time. They're pretty good. I use it when I compete in open weapon. I use a down sword as well.
Sounds good. Where? Okay.
So in case you guys are aware, there's a lot of guys in green and black staying there. Those are the guys actually running the tournament. And everyone else there with equipment is actually competing. So we're going to see Ivanovic do something kind of silly here. He's going to start out by throwing an outside wrap to his opponent's forearm. Ivanovic is in the red. Yeah, he threw the outside wrap with no real setup to it. And it's really important when you're fighting lefties that, you set up for those attacks. You don't really get any free attacks, only because attacking the outside and throwing a crossbody is very hazardous. So yeah, you have to prepare your opponent more with the types of attacks you're going to use. His opponent used a pretty cool inside counter at the same time that Ivanovic was throwing. His opponent's setting up on the left side here, or on the outside here, feeling Ivanovic out. I think he already knows what he's going to do here. The guy in yellow is moving to the outside quite a bit. Yeah. So he stepped a couple times towards Ivanovic's outside, and then enough to where he suspect that he was telling Ivanovic, hey, I might hit you on the outside of the body with a wrap. So instead he just feinted and threw across. Polearm versus Florentine. Florentine gets the trap on the polearm, pinning it to the ground and then killing them, which is pretty good. That's how you should do it. Polearms aren't people, so they should not be treated as such. If you don't know that, it's a joke saying guns aren't people, polearms aren't people. Down spear versus flail and shield. Flail and shield guys not using their footwork. They have a wide stance and their hips are backwards, which means they're probably not going to use their footwork. And then the down spear did the smart thing and just hit them in the leg. Is what you should do. Ooh, he's going to turn his down spear up now and just fish for that leg. It's appropriate. Down spears are crazy, man. Their range advantage is so good, and you can attack really well with them, and they attack from an angle that's particularly hazardous to a lot of people. And if someone knows how to use a good down spear, they kill a lot of people. And it looks like the guy in black here doesn't know how to block his legs with that down sword. That's kind of the benefit of using the down sword. Looks like they swung once at Solve's leg. This is kind of the negative of using a flail. They're kind of slow to attack sometimes. 1-1, I think. Yeah, 1-1. Solve really needs to use more setup attacks with the down spear. His down spear is a little bit long, and he should be really using more feints and stuff to set up his off sword as well. See that stab there, that understab? He could just throw it and then use that as a setup for his short sword so he can throw it at his opponent's board side shoulder. But it looked like he got him, so it's whatever. People are really afraid of down spears a lot of times, and you can just do all kinds of crazy tricks with them because they have so much range. It's my opinion that I think down spear is one of the best weapon styles you could possibly use. And then a second to that is Florentine. That's just my opinion, though. So Aaron here in the red doing some posturing, quite literally. I'm kind of curious to see what he does with his Florentine against this lefty. So he uses his left hand to block, or attempt to block, and then he threw over his opponent's sword. But he hit his opponent in the head because of it, and then his opponent hit him in the hip, and he missed his block. It's in my opinion that for the most part, there's caveats and everything, but right sword blocks the right side, left sword blocks the left side. He is fighting a lefty, and he is capable of dedicating his right hand to blocking his opponent's left sword, and then killing his opponent with his left hand. But not all Florentiners use their offhand super well. Oh, nice. So he got the wrap with his right hand, and then he had a nice overhand wrap with his left. It's potentially dangerous. He's put in a bad situation, and that's going to come back and bite him in the ass in this next fight. He's going to kind of get stuck in the same position, and with his guard really open, and he's going to kind of lose because of it. So his guard's open. We're gonna. Yeah, you see how he missed with his left hand, and then his guard swept open, leaving him vulnerable. When you're fighting with Florentine, especially in tournaments, you need to use both your swords and tandem together, and they need to work together to fight your opponent. If you get caught in a situation where your swords are getting separated and you end up in wide positions, that's very dangerous. No matter who you're fighting, you need to keep that behavior consistent. Even if you're fighting bad people, you need to train good behaviors and good habits for your fighting, because if you don't, then your bad habits would become more fully expressed against higher skill opponents and people who can kill you. So, if you're training, it's important to know, train good habits with everybody, or else they'll come to bite you in the ass later on. Oh, nice. That's good stab, Solve. Solve did a really nice pocket stab with that down spear. That's the type of stuff he should be doing with that down spear. Let's see if he goes to pump fake and hit the shoulder. That's what I would do. Oh, he got armed. Now he's in a hard game. Solve was a little bit lazy there with his short sword, and it cost him an arm. Just like Florentine with the down spear, you have no defense. You don't have the privilege of having a shield. You need to be active with both weapons at the same time to create a deterrent against your opponent coming forward. And, yeah, Solve hit him in the leg. Again, I talk about practicing good habits against low-skill opponents. I also practice good mental habits as well. You know, if you're fighting lazily against low-skill opponents, you're going to fight lazily against high-skill opponents, and that'll cost you matches. The important part is that you need to learn to fight consistently across every single opponent you fight. That's probably the thing that separates decent from good from great, is how consistent you actually are. Even in even in this type of tournament where there's nothing on the line, you should pretend as if there is. And you should be practicing those good habits for every environment possible. It's actually one of the reasons I like fighting low skill opponents sometimes, is that I can work on ingraining better habits against them. Even little stuff, like if you're practicing parrying, go fight a lower skill fighter, take it very seriously, and practice that particular behavior that you want to practice, or that mental trait, or whatever you're doing. Practice it against those people because it's easier. And then test that against higher and higher skill opponents. Okay, doing some whirly stuff with his Florentine. Let's see if he actually uses that left hand. Because his opponent's giving him a nice pocket stab, because he's projecting his shield forward. I want to see if he gets a nice lefty pocket stab. I bet he's going to parry out with his left hand and throw a slot shot with his right. Or a high cross. Nope, he flurried him, but he missed. Aaron's throwing very wide with both of his swords, and that's not a good thing to do. If you're throwing wide with both your hands, you can't cover your center line, and it leaves you vulnerable as a Florentiner. If you're going outside, and you're not covering that center, you're going to get hit by stuff. In this case, he kind of just spammed flurries and didn't set any of his attacks up, and that ended up costing him an arm. Aaron uses decent footwork here. I wish he would be more conservative in his hand movement and use better setups for his attacks. I think he just lost that round. And like his opponent's leaving a board side shoulder open there. If Aaron threw like right hand board side shoulder and then threw a lefty wrap or a lefty stab, he would kill his opponent in like one shot. Like, bah, bah. Call it the 1-2Z. There's a fighter named Arkzadia, who's a dagger fighter, who's very good at throwing that. Yeah, see, he threw out wide twice and got hit in the center of the body. When you go board side shoulder and then far left side, the whole thing's open, especially your shoulders. Yeah, when you throw that board side shoulder, what you really need to do is cross your hands. And I don't mean like this, but cross your sword. So if I throw a board side shoulder, this left side is guarding against anything coming into this space. And that when you finish your shot, you're not going to get hit. And when you throw your second shot, you're covered. If that makes sense. That's how you actively throw while covering the inside of your body. It allows you to throw outside without both your hands being separated. And the defining principle there is that whenever you attack, you should be returning to guard. So if I attack with this sword, and this hand's covering this inside, when I go to move to attack their left side, this right hand returns to the guard as I throw with my left hand. Anyway, Solve versus sword and shield guy here. Solve, that's what I would do, Solve. That's a good idea. Something I do not do is I do not change which hand my down spear is in when I'm fighting people who are cross-handed. Even as a lefty, I keep my down spear in my right hand because it doesn't bother me. But if I was training it, I probably would switch hands. In a tournament, I would not. Nice arm shot. Solve needs to be more active there with his sword and realize when his opponent's not swinging to that side of his body, he can attack his opponent with his short sword. So when the sword and border threw cross to Solve's left side, Solve easily had a short sword attack on his enemy's left side. Dancing back and forth, Solve going for the pocket stab. If I was Solve, I would... Yeah, okay, he switched, not bad. They side mode? I think Solve lost. Anyways, so that's the end of the video. And yeah, so the thing I want to kind of go just summarize up here is when you're fighting in tournaments, you are not in a mode to train, you are in a mode to perform, and you will perform at whatever level you were training at. So if you're not practicing good habits and not practicing good behaviors, you're severely hamstringing yourself when you get to tournaments. Also, that you should be practicing your fundamentals. Like, you should be practicing in such a way that, like, you should be figuring out the ways your opponents can kill you, even if you're not killing them in practice. Like, you're fighting someone who's low skill and you're a little bit higher. If you're doing some type of poor behavior with your sword work or your footwork or your body movement, you should consider that a loss in your brain, even if you fight them. Like, if I attack somebody, I'm far overextended or whatever, then in my mind, when I'm practicing my mechanics and practicing my fundamentals, I consider that a loss in my mind. Like, I want to kill them without dispositioning myself or putting myself in a bad position. So, anyways, yeah, you should be practicing good stuff. And, yeah. So, anyway, this has been Raven the Swift's Tournament Reviews, and I'll check you guys later. Bye.